Now I'm staring at the.
Let's go to the church, guys.
Okay, we made it to Notre Dame Cathedral.
So it's really great, and it's the only thing.
Just recently there was a fire here in Notre Dame, and the whole world watched that video on the news, and you can see a little bit of construction here around the building, and we can't go inside today, neither can we go on the backside, but this is the best view. So we want to thank God for a testimony of Jesus Christ that this church gives. All over the world, people know that this church stands for Jesus. So we want to thank God for a chance to be here in Paris. We pray for the people of Paris, especially some of our Greater Grace church believers that we know that come around here and share the love of Christ.
It's almost 200 years to build this perfect example of Gothic architecture. So when I talk about Gothic architecture, I mean the pointy windows, very vertical shapes going straight towards God, and flying buttresses, which are beams that look like this, that hold the building up from the back. We'll see a model a little bit to the side, and you can also see them if you take a boat ride in the river or go behind the church on the other side of the river banks. And then it was a normal church for a really long time, up until the French Revolution. When the French Revolution happened, the revolutionary...
So our tour guide's been telling us about things that you can learn from this Cathedral of Notre Dame. One is it was built in 1166 AD, and it took about 200 years to complete. And this was used in medieval Christian culture here in France, and people were blessed by this place. So our guide taught us about here this Cathedral of Notre Dame, that when the French Revolution happened in the 1780s, the revolutionaries were so angry at the Catholic Church and religion in general, they wanted to make a 10-day week and abolish the priests, and they brought a bunch of people and beheaded them here. And they took the statues of the saints and the apostles standing out front of this building, and they beheaded the statues of the saints. And this church was empty and ravaged for many years until Victor Hugo wrote the book, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And when Victor Hugo wrote that beautiful book, The Story of the Hunchback, people fell in love with this church again, and they rebuilt it, and it was a place of joy again. And of course, April 15th, 2019, there was a fire here that you may have seen in the news, and now they're rebuilding it. The roof was destroyed, the wooden roof, old wood that was the ceiling with the bells. The theory is that they had bell tower at the top, and they had electric wires on the bells to ring the bells, and maybe that might have started the fire. So it's been good to be here. We thank God that we're here to see the Notre Dame Cathedral.
Later on, we'll go to Hotel de Ville. Ville means city. So building of public use of the city, city hall. That's the word hotel. And even like it's a hotel de police, building of public use by the police. That's what you call a police station also. So the word hotel doesn't necessarily mean hotel. Now, if you Google it and stuff, you're gonna find the hotels, like all the hotels, but it also means a different thing. And the three words you see on the building here: liberté, égalité, fraternité. Liberty, freedom, equality, and fraternity, brotherhood. These three words, these three values were decided on by the people of the French Revolution as the basis of all government in France. So structure of government, laws, constitution, everything is based on these three words. And whenever you see them in a building, it means that it's a government building. So this is a public government hospital. You see the words on it, you would see them on the police station there, all schools, administrative buildings, everything government related. Any questions?
What were those three words again?
Liberté, égalité, fraternité.
Liberty, equality, and fraternity.
Equality and brotherhood, fraternity. Yeah. Values of the Republic.
And our tour guide told us that whenever the fire happened here in the Notre Dame Cathedral, the government authorities and the firemen had to find plans for the building to find out where everything belonged when everything fell down. And the only place that they could find that it was recorded, like a 3D picture of how the building used to look inside, was Assassin's Creed video game. I don't know how they got that, but then they used the video game and found where everything belonged that had fallen down so they could replace and track everything. So there's good use for video games. Assassin's Creed 3D. It was used to rescue the relics and the items that burnt down here in the cathedral.
The same St. Louis that is represented on the front of the basilica, the Sacred Heart Basilica, the same St. Louis. And back when there was nothing in the area, no civilization, nothing, the first tribe that came and settled here was called the tribe of the Parisians, a Celtic tribe, came from the north and settled here on the island, starting the city of Paris. So some of the oldest neighborhoods you find here, some of the oldest ruins, and they're still digging up stuff from back in the 1st and 2nd century. So now we're gonna take this bridge, talk about what's here, and go to City Hall. Let's go.
So the buildings behind us in the river here was a place where the kings and queens used to live, and then Marie Antoinette was kept there in a prison before she was beheaded during the French Revolution. The building still stands, gold roof. It's fascinating to look at.
Let's go take our last metro, guys. We're taking line 1 to Palais Royal Musée du Louvre. At the Louvre. Okay. So what they do
So this is the administration building for the French government. All through the years they've used it, even for the beheadings and executions. But this is where the protest happened in the square. And every statue has a representation of a famous person who built the French culture. So our guide's name is Marion, and she's from Lebanon. She's been doing a great job of explaining the history of France, the buildings of France, the culture of France. But she's Lebanese, but we just want to thank God for her life. A chance to get to know our team here. All right, we're gonna go into a metro station here. There's 9 different trains that transact here in this train station. So let's make sure and get on the right train. Let's go. Okay, so we're under the Louvre, and there's a shopping mall under the Louvre you never knew about. And this is a secret entrance to get into the Louvre, to get a shorter line to go through that gate. But we need to go upstairs and see the shape of the Louvre. So we're under the Louvre now here in Paris, and our guide was telling us that the Louvre used to be the fortress of the city 1,000 years ago. And so there's still some of the walls of the fortress remaining, and they put neon lights in French language describing some events that happened here. The fortress of the Louvre.
12th century, the Louvre started off as the northern fortress of Paris, protecting the city from all northern attacks. And then the king and queen moved from the royal palace that was on the island to the building here, and that's when things started moving around. For the next few hundred years, they were building buildings, destroying buildings, turning part. Can I just put my sunglasses? I can't open my eyes at all, I'm sorry. They were building buildings, destroying buildings, making parts of buildings living spaces, turning other parts into galleries for all the art they were commissioning and collecting, until everything abruptly stopped in 1682 when Louis XIV decided to move the royal palace from here to Versailles. When that happened, things calmed down here and only picked back up again during the French Revolution. But contrary to other buildings that were getting destroyed by the revolutionaries, they were actually bringing all the art they were looting and taking from other buildings and putting them here, starting something like the Museum of the Republic, with the art becoming property of the people. And then the next king the next king was Napoleon. He was not a king, he was an emperor, which was worse. No, but Napoleon, when he came to power, he made one of his ministers' apartments inside the Louvre. They called Napoleon's apartments in the Richelieu wing of the museum. Try to check them out. If you go in there, they are beautiful, red velvet and gold everywhere. And then when he fell from power, it became the Musée du Louvre that we know and love today. I'll show you the main entrance. It's behind. The main entrance is at the Big Pyramid. The secret entrance is downstairs. And make sure you have a game plan. Don't try to see everything, you will not be able to. They did the math. If you stop 30 seconds at every artwork, you will take 300 days to finish it. Yeah, without sleep. So yeah, have a tour, or once you go into the atrium space, get yourself a map. They have great maps with artifacts on them, and enjoy 10,000 years of human history, going all the way up to 1848 with art and artifacts from all over the world, civilizations, cultures, and art movements. And as a last tip from me, make sure to look up to the ceilings. Inside the museum, just randomly look up at the ceilings. Sometimes they're more beautiful than what you have in front of you. Any questions? The sun's off.
What was the year that they switched over? When it was over?
When did it turn into a museum? I'm not exactly sure. I think it was gradual because the works were already here from before. I think when Napoleon stopped using this building, they turned it into a museum right after that. So in the 1800s. Yeah. Anyone else? Any other questions? I built the connection to it, and then that got destroyed. There's so many changes. This is just the latest. I couldn't even tell you. It's all I know. But then to go into like details would have a half a day. Yeah.
So we're at the Louvre here in Paris. The pyramid, glass pyramid, is the entrance. And this place was made famous through the Da Vinci Code movie with Tom Hanks, of course, with the Americans finding out about this place. And so many people come to see the works of art inside it. Okay, now I'm looking at the Eiffel Tower in the distance, and we're standing at the Louvre. There's a second Arch of Triumph here behind the construction there that they're rebuilding. But when you look at this side, this whole building is all the Louvre. It's all a museum of art and history, and magnificent sculptures and statues, and then we have a glass pyramid. There was a Chinese architect that created this, and at first the French didn't like having a pyramid of glass, but then they came to like it. Most of the historical artifacts inside the Louvre are Egyptian artifacts, so they thought, let's make a pyramid. So some of the things the French people are famous for are food, really. Every food item that you can think of, if you think of terminology, it's a French word actually. And so the French have made the best food in the world. Every chef knows that. Of course, Bethany's a chef. And one more thing is art and culture. And when the French Revolution happened, they were standing for liberty, equality, and brotherhood or fraternity. And that's respectable, but they tried to reach it without God. They tried to remove God because of the hypocrites of religion, made them angry. But if there was a chance for them to see the true Jesus, the true God who had love and mercy and true justice, they would have not thrown God out of their culture. But then through the years, they learned by throwing God out of their culture, they had to get the bitter consequences of that, and then they came back to God. Of course, Napoleon became a dictator after they removed God, and Napoleon became like a god, took over all of Europe. And of course, Napoleon got rid of the Holy Roman Empire, created the modern European nation states after Napoleon, And instead of empires, there were states and nations of Europe that grew through the 1800s and the civil wars of 1848 that sent many people into America from Germany and France, and then the creation of the Prussian state into Germany. There was too militaristic, and people becoming atheists and losing their faith in Germany, destroying much of Europe during the 20th century, and then here we are today in the 21st century. So I like to study history. Of course, Bethany sometimes gets annoyed that I'm studying history all the time, but it's just something fascinating to figure out, like, why do things happen the way they do? And it's something that we're asking as we're standing here in France. Why do things happen in history the way they do? It has something to do with what is God doing in history,
Yes.
and what is Satan doing in history. And let's study that with an eye of grace and respect towards all cultures, to believe that everyone's made in the image of God, and everyone has value and worth, and we can learn something from everyone. But let's get the truth, and let's spread the love of God. And now let's get on. We're going to go on a tour of a hop-on, hop-off boat on the river Seine. So let's go to the River Seine, get on the boat, and let's see some more sights, honey.
Yeah.
And let's pray for Paris and pray for France, okay?
Yeah.
The people of France are precious, especially our Greater Grace friends here. And so we want to thank God for being in Paris.
Yes.
It's a romantic date, sweetheart.
It is a romantic day.
Mm.
I'm so glad I'm here with you.
You know what?
My history buff.
It's been really good to be with you in Paris, sweetheart. All right, let's walk from the Louvre to the River Seine.
Yeah,